On today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live, an overtime thriller in Seattle last night for ASU Hoops. Is it a time to hit the panic button, though?
Sun Devil swimmers are breaking records left and right. We'll hit the pool to see why they're #1 in the country.
Plus, one of our own reporters hits the links with a top ASU golfer. All of this and so much more on today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live. Hey everyone, welcome inside Studio 6 for today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live. My name is Cavan, Malayter, and if you didn't recognize the other voice that just spoke a couple moments ago, it belongs to Riley Swenson. Riley, your debut at the desk, how are you feeling?
I mean, it can't be that hard, right, Cavan? It's just reading words.
That's a perspective, I guess.
But I know one thing is for certain. We're going to try and get off to a hotter start than Bobby Hurley and the Sun Devils did last night in Seattle.
We can all agree upon that right now. Let's roll the highlights here as the Sun Devils took on the Washington Huskies up in Seattle, as Arizona State looked to bounce back after back-to-back losses to the LA schools. Sun Devils actually led 12-0 at one point, but this is where the wheels began to fall off. A turnover by Austin Nunez led to a quick score at the other end. This was all part of a run in which Washington scored ASU 23-4 down the stretch in that first half. Here you see a Desmond Cambridge layup to make it 32-20 at the half, but it was a rough stretch run in that first half for ASU. They closed the first half just making 2 of their last 23 shots. But Bobby Hurley's side found a way to stay in the game. There you see a Frankie Collins 3 to cut down the deficit to 1 with 7.5 to play. Down 2 with just under 5 to play. We got the Pacific Northwest edition of La View with Des Cambridge laying it up and in. Now, we'll fast forward 7 seconds left of the game. Devils down by 3. Austin Nunez on a give and go, drives to the corner looking for a 3 and draws a foul. He would get 3 free throws and a chance to potentially tie the game and send it to overtime. He made the first 2. This one would tie the game, and the freshman, as he's done all season long, matches that Pacific Northwest weather with a cold-blooded attempt, tying the game, sending it into overtime. But that final 5 minutes of basketball was not the way Bobby Hurley wanted. There you see a kick out to the corner. Keon Brooks wide open 3. You bet. It expanded the Washington lead to 5 at the time. But Arizona State somehow found a way to stay alive. Down 3, 6 seconds to go. Frankie Collins with a desperation 3. No good, but it goes out of bounds off of Washington Huskies. So ASU, with 9/10 of a second remaining, had a chance to tie the game. They turned to Des Cambridge, as they have all season long, but is trying for a tying shot was all air. Washington won the race. They won the game in overtime and sent ASU to 6-4 in conference play. So it's 3 straight defeats now for ASU, and after a rough performance on the road last night, Sammy Newt is here to help us dissect that Sun Devil trip to Seattle. And Sammy, let's just rip the Band-Aid right off. How does a team like ASU start the game on a 12-0 run, but somehow go down 12 points at the half?
Well, it's pretty simple. When Washington turns the ball over 11 times in their first 10 minutes, over 1 turnover per minute, it becomes easy to create offense if you're the Sun Devils and very easy to play defense. On the other side, obviously they were forcing some of those turnovers, but Washington was very careless with the ball. And then in the second half of the first half, the last 10 minutes, Washington turned the ball over only once. So as soon as the turnovers from Washington disappeared, ASU, their offense also disappeared. From the last 10, 15 minutes, they went 2 for 23 from the field. Not what you want to do if you're trying to score points.
Not at all. That's 3 straight losses now, like I just mentioned, for Arizona State. Is it time to hit the panic button, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say it's time yet, but there definitely are some issues with this. The team's remaining schedule. Obviously, you have 7 games before 3 really, really tough games against at UCLA, at Arizona, and at SC to close the season. Those are 3 tough games. So over the next 6 games, you have Washington State, 2 Oregon schools, 2 Bay Area schools, and the 2 Mountain schools. So you need to go at least 6-1 in those games, I believe, in order for ASU to have a chance. ASU has flash potential. It just depends on whether or not we'll see the team for the first 7 games of conference play or the last 3 games of conference play.
Washington State on Saturday is the next test for Arizona State. Pullman, despite Washington State not being the best team this season, never an easy trip for any Pac-12 school. What the Sun Devils need to do to get back in the win column and try to get back on track moving forward.
Yeah, we saw evidence for that last night with Arizona's or U of A's close 5-point win over the Cougars. And the last time these 2 teams played, it was a ASU win, 77-71, and one of their best performances of the season. The Sun Devils put up 55% shot 55% from the field, their best mark in conference play by far. And the standout of that game was Warren Washington with 18 points on 9 of 10 shooting. He really got them going in the first half, nailing his first 9 baskets from the field. And that is a blueprint for ASU. You want to get it inside to Washington, to Gaffney, to all those guys down low, and create easy buckets. Unfortunately, they haven't been doing that, and a lot of that's because of this 2-3 zone a lot of teams are playing against them. So teams drop back into a zone, ASU's forced to take tough shots, and they're not going in.
We'll see how they fare on Saturday night against Pullman. Sammy, thank you so much for joining us. Let's see how Arizona State does, not only against that 2-3 zone, but just try to get a warrior win like they had a couple of weeks ago.
True.
The struggles continued for ASU hockey last weekend as they were swept on their home ice for the second series in a row. Nothing seems to be going their way right now, and here's what Coach Powers had to say.
Crazy bad puck luck, mixed with just a lack of energy. Again, puck luck's just not going our way. That's what happens when you're in a rut.
It's clear what Coach Powers thinks is the problem. The team has outscored 18-5 over a 4-game stretch. We might need more than 2 words to sum it up. To break down the issues for ASU hockey, we bring in WCSN hockey reporters Lauren Verdon and Eric List. And guys, we'll start with the power play. It's been abysmal as of late. Walk us through what that unit needs to do to see some more success.
Well, Riley, the power play has been, as you said, abysmal. It's probably been the worst part of Arizona State hockey this year. It's converting about 18% right now, and the last 6 games, they're 2 for 24 for about 8%. So, I mean, it's going to be just about scoring, getting shots in the slot, not from outside, and scoring on the power play. You have to. I mean, if you're letting those chances go by, it's not going to help you win games, and clearly they haven't.
Exactly, and Matthew Copper is coming off an injury, so that should help ASU get back to executing their power plays correctly.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, on the offensive side, they can't score on the power play, but then TJ Sendenfelter has been the guy all season, so reliant in net, but that wasn't the case last weekend. What happened against RIT?
Yeah, Riley. So TJ Sendenfelter has started every single game this season, and this past weekend was only the second time that Ben Cross has gone in for TJ. And so it's completely normal for the goalie, especially when he's starting every single game, to have an off weekend like he did this past weekend.
And on those off weeks, I mean, you have to have your defense step up and your offense step up. I mean, Sendenfelter has kept them in countless games this season, and now it's really about getting your defense to play in front of him, block shots, and then your offense to score goals. If Sendenfelter lets in a shot, you got to go right back down and score the other way. So he's kept you in games. Pay him back now and play defense in front of him and help him out when he has an off night.
Yeah, and for ASU, they've been home the whole month of January. It hasn't really gone their way, but they welcome in St. Thomas this weekend, a very beatable hockey team. What do they have to do to get back in the win column?
Well, Riley, they're on a 4-game losing streak, and it's going to be just winning. Build that confidence back up and win a hockey game tonight. They're pretty much out of the pairwise rankings and out of the playoffs, so it's going to be just win.
I would agree, and St. Thomas, this is only their second year as a program, and so last year ASU swept them, and so this is ASU's, like you said, one of their last chances to turn their season around and win.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming in, and we'll see if ASU can get a couple of wins this weekend as they wrap up the month of January at Mullet Arena.
In a season that hasn't gone as expected for Arizona State wrestling, there have been some unusual trends occurring for the Sun Devils on the mat. Here to help us make sense of it is our own Kellen Croxton with a very detailed edition of By the Numbers.
Well, Cavan, in a season of ups and downs, one thing has remained constant for the Arizona State wrestling team. 2 separate groups step onto the mat. Now, obviously injuries and external factors play a role in the availability of the team's top wrestlers, but dropping from 3rd in the nation to 17th through 7 duels is a result of the separation between lightweights and heavyweights. The rift has been so severe that currently the first 4 weight classes outnumber the wins of the last 6, 23-12. The win disparity has played a factor in all duels this season, with 157 and 165 putting up just 1 duel in each of the 7. With Ja'Cory Teamer injured at 157 and Anthony Valencia graduating at 165, the team hasn't found stable replacements. Now, this isn't such a new issue. Last year, the team had a differential in their first 4 weight classes of +55 and their last 6 at -18. A large disparity, one of the largest in all of NCAA. But the team was able to have a total point differential at the same point in the season of +37. Fast forward to this season, and after 7 matches, the team has a total point differential of +65 in their first 4 weights, but -60 in their last 6. This is the reason the Sun Devils are losing duels, especially with a total point differential of just +5. not even a point for every duel so far. Compare this to schools like Penn State, who have plus 42 in their first 4 and plus 110 in their last 6. In fact, the ASU Wrestling team has the best first 4 weight class point differential above all of the top 10 teams. Currently, Iowa has plus 25, Michigan has plus 48, and Cornell, a team with a similar issue, has plus 49. But in their last 6, the Bears have only a plus 7 differential. And although it's the lowest out of the top 10 teams, Cornell's 7 is still higher than the Sun Devils by 67. Now, despite the alarming statistics, some of the numbers are good for Arizona State. The lightweights seem to be more established, and come tournament time, the team should have a few more wrestlers back and healthy. But as far as the duels go, until the team can find, consistency at middleweights, that win-loss column isn't going to look too pretty at the end of the season.
Thanks, Kellen. As we all well know, Kenny Dillingham has taken over the ASU football program. He has wasted no time in revamping the roster, and to give you an update on the revolving door that is the transfer portal, here's Aiden Blank.
It's a new era for Sun Devil football, and right off the bat, Kenny Dillingham made some massive moves to bring top talent into the Valley. First on the transfer list, a quarterback in the form of rising senior Drew Pine. Pine rose up the charts at Notre Dame last year thanks to some early season injuries and posted an 8-2 record starting 10 games for the Irish. On the opposite end of the ball, arguably the biggest get in Oklahoma linebacker Clayton Smith. The 5-star recruit was ranked number 23 in the country out of high school, but played sparingly in his years at Oklahoma, appearing in just 8 games over 2 seasons. He is the program's nation-leading 25th Division I transfer addition. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Coach Dillingham. The Sun Devils lost a couple of big names to the portal, including Arizona native Connor Soley, a former 3-star recruit who had 52 tackles in 30 games with ASU. And there's a big fish still on the market. Former Florida commit Jaden Rashada visited Tempe last week. Rashada's father, Harlan, also played for Arizona State, and 247 Sports says the Devils are favored to land the number 6 quarterback in the class of 2023. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Aiden Blank.
With that signing, at least half of ASU scholarship players will be newcomers. Talk about a rebuild.
Yeah, for sure. And the Arizona State women's basketball team has also hopped on the struggle bus since the conclusion of non-conference play. Arizona State has lost 8 straight games, all of them being in Pac-12 play. As we bring in WCSN women's basketball reporter Justin Lasser-Toaster to the desk. Justin, Arizona State fell at home last Sunday to U of A, and I know it's an 8th straight loss, but are there any positives that fans can take away from that game?
There are some positives now as we start in this new Natasha Adair regime. To be quite honest, the Sun Devils have struggled in nearly every facet, and arguably their biggest problem so far has been their playmaking ability. They sit at the bottom of the Pac-12 in assists per game at 10.7 a night, and to make matters worse, they're turning the ball over at an even higher rate at 12.8 turnovers per game. But against their hometown rival in U of A, they really solved this problem as they tallied up 13 assists on their own and limited the turnovers to only 9, and lead guard, point guard Ty Skinner had 6 assists of her own, and really all around this was more of a well-oiled machine rather than just go up the court and try and get a bucket. But also, the Sun Devils got to the charity stripe 29 times, which is a season high in terms of Pac-12 play, and they limited foul trouble to only 14 fouls committed in the entire game, which is also a season low for Pac-12 play. So it's always a rough patch when you lose to your rival school, especially when you're at home, you lose double digits. That's always rough. However, for the Sun Devils, there's more positives to come out of this loss than negatives.
And let's look now for this weekend. What takeaways and what can Arizona State can not only sustain but also potentially improve on to try to finally get that first Pac-12 win this weekend?
Really, it's simple. All the Sun Devils have to do to potentially get their first Pac-12 win this very weekend is play smart on the offensive side of the ball. When you're turning the ball over more than you're facilitating it, that's an IQ problem, and that starts from the very top. Ty Skinner as the point guard, she had 6 dimes last game, but that has to maintain itself. And with great power comes great responsibility. Her being the main ball handler of this team, she has to do everything she can to get the rest of the players on the court open and get the money for the Sun Devil squad. And also, Natasha Adair has to do a better job implementing Jaden Simmons into the offense. Throughout Jaden Simmons' 3 years as a Sun Devil, she's exhibited the ability to be a first or second option on a team. So kind of doing a 1A, 1B thing will take pressure off Ty Skinner and also will make that duo really become the two core pieces of the Sun Devil team. And outside of those two, really those complementary pieces, they have to be better as those connective secondary playmakers, making those good reads, making those hockey assists, moving without the ball in their hands to get themselves open, making off-ball screens, things of that nature, really impacting the game as much as humanly possible. And really, over this weekend, the Sun Devils have a chance to get their first Pac-12 win against either of the Washington schools, because this would give them more layers on offense and make them more versatile, and overall, it would make them a perimeter threat.
All right, Justin, we'll see if they take those keys tonight, as which the Sun Devils will host Washington State at Desert Financial Arena. And we have the pleasure of being joined by another WCSN women's basketball reporter, Blake Neiman, who is on site out there at Desert Financial Arena. Blake, how are Coach Adair and her team feeling going into this weekend with the two Washington schools in town?
Well, guys, I spoke to Coach Adair yesterday, and she feels that this weekend can serve as a fresh start. Her and her team did some midseason reflection this past week and addressed what they need to improve upon as they begin the second part of their Pac-12 schedule, starting tonight at DFA against Washington State, who has a high-scoring offense led by the Pac-12's leading scorer, Charlize Ledger-Walker, at 20.7 points per game. The keys for Coach Adair's squad being able to get the win here tonight is going to be able to limit the rebounding opportunities, getting that rebounding battle won, and also having free throw opportunities and getting more free throw opportunities, converting there at the line. As for Washington, though, on Sunday, they're going to have to adjust their approach to really increasing the pace and intensity, and because Washington is a school that really tries to slow down their opponent's style and tries to limit their team's scoring a total. They really try to slow down the game as a whole, and that's why Coach A thinks it's going to be especially crucial for her team to have depth on the roster to keep up that defensive intensity, which will translate over to the offensive end. And as the roster currently stands, Coach Adair says that they are improving and progressing, but they are still nursing some injuries with Meg Newman, Isadora Sosa, and as well as Imogen Greenslade, all currently still nursing injuries, but they are progressing, and she is hopeful that they will be able to make their return here this weekend, which would make a huge difference for the Sun Devils.
All right, Blake, we appreciate your time. I know you got a couple hours on your hand. There's a rack of basketballs behind you, so why don't you go put up a few shots before the game tonight between the Cougars and the Sun Devils.
Let's take a dip in the pool. ASU men's swimming is off to a stellar start, currently ranked #1 in the nation. One of their standouts comes all the way from Hungary, and our very own Sydney Griffin had the chance to meet with the freshman phenom.
ASU men's swim, currently the #1 team in the nation, just got even better after adding freshman Zalin Charkani at the start of the new year. In the first match of 2023 versus Stanford University, the 19-year-old swimmer from Hungary wasted no time in the pool, winning both his individual races. Not only did Charkani win, he made a splash in the record books after shattering the university's record for men's 1,000-yard freestyle, winning by 7 seconds and beating the rest of the competition by 13 seconds. According to the freshman, that was the plan.
Well, obviously, I was really excited, and this is my first meet with the team, and I really enjoyed just even getting up today. Well, that was my goal. Before the race, we pretty much. I talked to my coach, and he said that we gotta break that record now. That was my plan. So when I did it, I was super happy, and I was glad that I could do it, and with 7 seconds too. So I enjoyed it.
This is Sydney Griffin. Back to you guys in the studio.
Hey, great stuff, Sydney. Another ranked squad here at ASU is the gymnastics team, who's ranked 24th nationwide. And with Arizona in town this weekend to take on the Gym Devils, it means one thing: conference play is in full swing. And let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Gym Devils. And boy, it doesn't get any easier after this weekend. They go to #7 California in the NorCal schools before then coming back down to take on #6 UCLA. What a road trip that is. And then what's your home present? The #4 ranked Utah Utes before you go back up to the Pacific Northwest to take on 25th ranked Washington. It's no easy task, but the focus this weekend is on Arizona, in which the last 7 times ASU and U of A have met, it's been 7 Arizona State victories.
ASU Golf is coming off a season where it was runner-up at the NCAA tournament. The goal this year is to win a national title, and sophomore Josele Ballester will play a big part in that. Our Ben Paris was able to hit the links and show him how not to play golf. Take a look.
What's going on, everybody, here at Papago Golf Course? He's Josele Ballester. I'm Ben Paris, and Josele, the spring season is right around the corner, and for Sun Devil men's golf, how excited are you?
I'm super pumped to start the spring season. I mean, we're gonna play so many tournaments, so we gotta be ready for it, and I can't wait to see what's coming for Sunday Men's Golf.
All right, we're gonna go play a few holes. Maybe Jose will help me, give me a few tips for my golf game. Let's do it.
Yep, let's do it.
And I think it goes without saying, but you know what's the team's goal and your goal this season?
Win natties.
It's as simple as that.
Simple as that, yeah.
So stay tuned. We got more golf coverage coming your way all spring here on WCSN. We'll go back to you.
Awesome stuff there, Ben, but hopefully he taught you a few things. I think we can all agree that swing could use some work.
Yeah, I think next time he needs to bring a notepad with him to the course as well. But great job, Ben. Full piece is available on YouTube and as well on Cronkitesports.com. And now it's time for top plays. We'll start at number 5. We're starting at Mullet Arena with Arizona State men's ice hockey. Hey, Riley, do you like biscuits at all? Because Chris Brando likes putting the biscuit in the basket. Short side snipe last weekend against RIT. Sun Devils were swept, but still an impressive go there.
You know, I'm more of a toast guy myself, Cavan. Here at number 4, we got ASU basketball taking on USC. Frankie Collins with the steal. Desmond Cambridge Jr. fires up to Warren Washington. Get that toast ready, because here comes the jam. Warren Washington throw it down. The Sun Devils would lose, though, 77-69. Nice.
You want to know what else was nice? This play here by an ASU wrestler, Kyle Parko, last Friday night at the Beauty and the Beast event in a split DFA crowd. Watch this pin there against Cal Poly. He's fired up. He got DFA riled up with a big pin there. However, Sun Devils would eventually fall to Cal Poly.
At number 2, Cavan, we're going back to the pool. Zalin Sarkani won both the 1,000 free and 500 free against number 2, Cal. This is from Friday against Stanford, where he broke the record in the 1,000 free, but guess what? He did it again Saturday, broke his one-day-old record. He's won all 4 of his events as a Sun Devil.
And finally, number 1. It's been a great week if you're an ASU Swimming team member, as Leon Marchand won Pac-12 Swimmer of the Week. Now, this isn't the race where he did it, but he broke the NCAA record with a 3:31.84 in the 400-meter IM. What an impressive showing for him, and really showed why ASU Swim and Dive is one of the top teams in the country on the men's side. So that's going to do it for us here in Studio 6. Riley, it wasn't that bad, you know, the whole reading thing. For everyone and the great talented people behind the scenes, for Riley Swenson, I'm Cavan Malayter saying so long for Studio 6. We'll see you next week on Cronkite Sports Live.